Motsepe, while he has thrown in his weight into the issues which definitely emanated. That was 2 weeks ago. That's surrounding the Super Eagles of Nigeria and also the Mediterranean Knights of Libya, which definitely that game didn't go down. Match day 4 of the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifiers, which didn't go down there in Libya. And then we'll leave all of that. We also talk about some that's talking about tennis stories. We have a former footballer who definitely will play his first game when we talk about tennis, and that is in the 8P category. And then we just quickly, if time permits us, take a look at the Nigeria Premier Football League, where of course match the 8 encounters went down over the course of yesterday and day before yesterday. Some teams got the victory. For Rivers United, still unbeaten in the Nigeria Premier Football League. Shooting Stars of Ibadan, they picked up their second win of the season in front of their fans. So we take a listen to the words of the Major Lawal, that's talking about the general manager of Shooting Stars on the show this afternoon. And definitely we know that it's going to be an action-packed program on today's edition of the program. And of course, you are listening to the voice of Oluwatimilane SAMIES Ogunde on the program this afternoon, where of course 9 UEFA Champions League games are set to go down, but that wouldn't be where we would be starting from on the show this afternoon. Rather, we go straight and take a listen to the words of that CAF president, that's Patrice Motsepe, who has thrown his weight into the controversy in which broke out that's in Libya between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Mediterranean Knights. Recall that the Super Eagles of Nigeria, we didn't play that game as the boys left the country. That was on Monday. That's because of the treatment in which they received from the Libyans, from getting to that's a makeshift airport, and also no internet, no food, no all of that. They were unable to even leave the airport. So definitely these are the reasons in which the Super Eagles and also that the Niger Sports Federation decided to withdraw the boys from Libya and get them back into the country, where of course they departed to their respective club sides. Well, let's take a listen to the words of the Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe, while speaking of the inhumane situation the Super Eagles of Nigeria faced recently there in Libya. The words of CAF President.
There's a reason why the phone is open. It's because when there was this problem with the Nigerian national team in Libya, and I will not comment on that because there's a proper investigation, but I want to emphasize a principle that we will not tolerate, because this is something that has been going on for quite some time. Your national team, let me emphasize, forget about the Nigeria and Libya situation, because that process has been properly investigated and appropriate action will be taken. Appropriate action will be taken. I've heard too many stories of a football club or a national team goes to a country, you spend hours at the airport, and they ask you about documents that don't exist. And apparently during COVID, they would look at who the best players are from your national team and say, those 10 players, they've got COVID. And you say, but we've just been tested. No, they've got COVID. But it's this lack of sportsmanship that has existed, and we haven't taken effective action. So I just want to repeat. We are proud of those nations that treats visiting national teams and visiting football clubs with the respect and dignity that they deserve, but also who treat them in the same way they want to be treated when they visit those countries. So I just want to repeat, we're reviewing those laws, and we want to emphasize sportsmanship. When a national team from another country visits or a football club visits, treat them with the dignity and respect that they deserve. And if there are violations of those regulations and those rules, we will take action.
All right, there you listen to the words of Patrice Motsepe, the president of the Confederation of African Football, where, of course, he made the statement during CAF's 46th Ordinary General Assembly there in Addis Ababa. That was just in the early hours of today. But Motsepe revealed that appropriate action will be taken at the end of the investigation. And, of course, the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Mediterranean Knights would definitely have their own sanctions. So joining me on the show this afternoon is Nifemi Olumide, where, of course, we'll discuss about all of these together. Good afternoon, Olumide.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sam. It's great to be back on again on Scoreboard, and so many exciting stories world of sports, and can't wait to actually get into them. Yeah.
In you not waiting to get into them, I'm very sure you've gotten that a bit of the reaction of Patrice Motsepe. Speaking about the inhumane treatment in which the Super Eagles of Nigeria encountered there in Libya. That was, let's say, 2 weeks ago when the Super Eagles of Nigeria wanted to honor that's the match day 4 encounter of the 2025 African Cup of Nations. There has been lots of back and forth between that's the Nigerian Football Federation and also the Libyan Football Federation. From what we've seen, also the treatment of the Super Eagles players, where of course they left Nigeria on Sunday, they got to Libya on Sunday, but Monday they were unable to get out of this airport, and also they didn't. They were unable to actually play the game, and the Super Eagles of Nigeria, they were officially treated harshly, and the team they came back to Nigeria. So now, Patrice Motsepe in his words said we should have zero tolerance when there was this problem of the Nigerian national team in Libya, and said he won't comment on that because there is a proper investigation going on at this point in time. For how long will the investigation go on? And from the statement of Patrice Motsepe saying that this has happened several times on numerous occasions, how should we treat each other there in the world of football?
So first of all, SAMIES, I think that what I can take from what Patrice Motsepe actually said was, it's politics at the end of the day. You say a lot of things without the audience really having one thing that you said. Basically saying a lot of things, but the audience doesn't have one thing to really hold on to, because that's why I could actually grasp from his statement. He did not really condemn the Libyan Football Federation. He did not condemn them for what they did. He said that it has happened on numerous occasions, so that should have even called for him to actually speak out publicly on this kind of situation that happened. I mean, this is the African Cup of Nations, by the way. We're not even talking about, not even saying it was going to be acceptable if he was maybe one of the lower grades of national teams like the under-20s. This is the senior national team that was being treated that way. Not even saying it was going to be excused, but come on, where are the standards? That's one thing. Then another thing is that he said that he's not he's giving advice on how these things should be handled. Then call these people out for what they did, the wrongdoing that they did, because I think what Libya did was, very unprofessional. It was unsportsmanlike, and the fact that it just looks like in public it's being swept under the rug, I don't really like that very much, because I think that eventually when the so-called investigation is concluded, they should really have to pay or face the music, because they really deserve to. No player, nobody deserves to be treated the way that the Super Eagles were treated. And if they are saying it was some form of retaliation, I think it's ridiculous, because first of all, the Super Eagles said if the Super Eagles always treat their visitors with respect, and if there was any issue, it's usually a mistake, because we know the Super Eagles and the Nigerian Football Federation always treat at least the visiting nations with a lot of respect. So I don't think what happened to them should go unpunished. Now, speaking about how teams should be treated, I think it's very self-explanatory. We don't hear these things, for example, when it comes to non-African nations, when they go up against one another. We can say, people can say, why am I bringing up that? This is an African nation. This is football at the end of the day. Standards are supposed to be met. Imagine you hearing that England went to play against Germany and they were stranded at the airport. Before the end of that week, we would have heard something from, that is the if it was a FIFA related tournament, I heard something about from the FIFA president, I heard something from that is a referee. But here we're having the president not really make.
CAF released a statement. They said that it has been, the matter has been directed to the CAF disciplinary committee, and they will take a look at that. But then the question now is, how long would it take them to?
That's exactly what I was trying to point out. For example, if it was some UEFA-based teams or European teams, it would not take this long for a conclusion to be reached and for the adequate punishment to be dished out. I don't know why this has been allowed to go on for as long as it has, because it now seems like because when this is something I've been saying, when when wrongdoing goes unpunished for long, he kind of gets swept under the rug. So now I'm just hoping that Libya will not go unpunished, because this matter has not been dealt with in the swiftest of manner.
Well, let's leave that because we have a lot of talking points on the show this afternoon. Well, definitely, we will still come to talk about that, especially when we get a statement from the Confederation of African Football, solidifying that's the issue that went down there in Libya. But now, well, the Super Falcons of Nigeria, we have Rashida Tajibade, Chama Kanadozie, and Gift Monday arrive in camp for that game against Algeria on the 26th and 29th. That's when those two games will go down there at the Onikon Stadium. Where of course it is a friendly game, and that will be the first set of games in which the Super Falcons will be playing since their woeful performance at the Paris 2024 football event that went down there in Paris. But moving away from that, also we had three African nations qualify for the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup, and as it stands, we have just one team that is going into that's talking about the quarterfinals of the competition. Kenya and Zambia, they've been out of the competition, and 𝐒𝐿𝐒𝐿𝐒𝐿𝐒𝐿𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 is the one steering the ship for the Flamingos of Nigeria after getting two victories from their opening two games of the tournament, where of course they defeated Ecuador, and also in our first game it was a victory for the Flamingos of Nigeria defeating the Central African Republic, and of course our third game is against that's talking about the host nation, who are winless also in the tournament. And of course, what would it be like for the host nation to be eliminated from the competition at this stage? Because as it stands, it's looking so difficult for them. The Dominican Republic, they have 1 point. Ecuador will be up against the New Zealand, they have 3 points. And the Flamingos of Nigeria, we have 6 points. So now, how well can you that's 𝐿 Bankole Olowokere for what he has done with the Flamingos of Nigeria? Remember, we want to better our last outing, in which we defeated Germany in the third place game by 2-1 to at least win that maybe a gold or a silver medal.
Yeah, so SAMIES, you rightly pointed out that the head coach Bankole Olowokere has actually done a really impressive job, not even just at the World Cup, looking at the qualifying stages and how confident and how dominant they were in those stages, looking at how their performance they get against the Central African Republic. Now getting into the World Cup and in their first game, handing New Zealand 4-1 drubbing. Then actually going into before the Ecuador game, he actually spoke and said that he was confident that the Flamingos are going to sail past. And not only did they do that, they did it in very very confident fashion again. Another 4-goal outing for the Flamingos. So I really think that going into this game against the Dominican Republic, I do not expect there to be heavy rotations. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I think they have a really amazing squad. And I think that for the Dominican Republic, obviously it's disappointing for the host nation to go out very early, but I think it's looking very likely, if I do say so myself, because the Flamingos actually look like one of the best sides so far in the competition, the Under-17 Women's World Cup. And I think that it's very possible that they actually continue that showing 12 a.m. tomorrow. So I believe that the exit for the Dominican Republic is looking very like this on the horizon. And the Flamingos here, knowing that one, they have the goal difference on their side, might still be looking to actually finish the group in dominant fashion. So I'm expecting maybe a really strong outing lineup again for the final game of the group.
Well, let's take a listen to the words of Coach Bankole Olowokere, who definitely is with the ladies there in the Dominican Republic, speak about what he expects and also how the team are prepared for the host nation in their match day 3 of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup group stage.
We have to be careful of whatever we are doing, and many people are watching. We are not in a rush to do anything. I've told you these are kids, and you have to behave like a parent sometimes. For you to even touch or to do anything with the team, you have to do a lot of psychological talking with the players so that we don't destroy the house we are built by ourselves. So it's very, very technical. Very, very tactical, highly tactical, that we will know how to approach it in that manner. So it's not a thing that I'm in a rush to do. We're going to do a lot of consultation with my technical crew, and I'm going to psych the girls before we can take any drastic decision. I know, irrespective of whatever be the result, this is a winning team, and you don't change a winning team. But despite that, tactical play, yeah, you can do one or two things. So that's the area that I'm working on. So I'm not going to rush into anything. Though I'm a tactical coach, but at the same time, I'm a parent. So I balance the two together to see how I can get best result for the team and for the nation.
All right, there you listen to the words of Coach that's Bankole Olowookere speak about the winning team and also not wanting to change the winning team going into the game against the host nation, the Dominican Republic. But about now, we have 9 UEFA Champions League games are set to go down later today. Well, we know we don't have much time, but we just have to touch the UEFA Champions League, which is the mother of all club competitions. Well, this season, it's taking a different toll, where, of course, it is a league phase. And teams are facing each other. No home and away yet. That's in the group stage of the UEFA Champions League. But in this match, the 3 encounter, what should we expect from the games are set to go down? AC Milan also will be up against Club Brugge. And then we have a repeat of last season's Champions League final. Monaco will be up against Zvezda Zvezda. And then Paris Saint-Germain will be up against PSV. Juventus against Stuttgart. Arsenal will be up against Shakhtar Donetsk. Also, later today, Aston Villa will be up against Brugge. But in all of the lineup of games that are set to go down today in Ifemi, which of these games is of interest to you when we talk about the UEFA Champions League?
Yes, SAMIES, I think the most interesting game for me has to be the replay of the UEFA Champions League final. I mean, Borussia Dortmund going against Real Madrid. Nuri Sahin, who is in the new head coach position, former football player for Borussia Dortmund, going up against Carlo Ancelotti, legendary manager in the game. So I think that this will be really exciting for a multitude of reasons. It's also going to be Kylian Mbappe's. This is Kylian Mbappe's, first Champions League campaign with Real Madrid as well. Real Madrid haven't necessarily looks like a team that has fully gelled.
They've won one, they've lost one.
Yeah, losing to the hands of
Lille,
which was an impressive win for Lille, by the way. So I think this is exciting because both teams, honestly, this season haven't really been the most impressive for their standards. Let me put it that way. So I think this game is really exciting because Nuri Sahin, if you can actually get a great result against this team, maybe that would calm the nerves of the stakeholders there at the BVB, that's Borussia Dortmund, because Borussia Dortmund haven't really had the best of outings too in the Bundesliga. Now talking about the outing as well, Real Madrid were necessarily looked at as maybe a much more improved side because they added Kylian Mbappe, but it seems like they've taken a step back on the pitch when it comes to the chemistry, and there are reports that they might even go back to the style of play that they had last season, which was like a 4-4-2 formation. And I want to see what that actually looks like because I've seen Mbappe play in 4-4-2 as well, and he still had the license to roll, but looking at Vinicius as well, who wants to occupy similar positions as him, I wonder how that's going to look like. Now for Borussia Dortmund, we obviously know Seb-Haller is going to be there. Then Karim Adeyemi, maybe he can have one of those great games.
For Borussia Dortmund, in their last UEFA Champions League, they defeated Celtic, running riot.
Yeah, they embarrassed Celtic in a dominant fashion. I think the last time I saw Celtic get destroyed like that
against Barcelona.
Barcelona, yeah, because I think they were almost like regular customers when it came to playing against FC Barcelona. So Borussia Dortmund, right? I think that they could actually take a page out of last season's book because I don't think the Real Madrid team is completely different in terms of the individuals that will be fielded. But then again, I think that Nuri Sahin has a lot of work on his hands because when you play against Real Madrid, a lot of the time you might even be seen as the favorite to win.
For Nuri Sahin, he said that mentality is not enough to defeat Real Madrid, to get better of Real Madrid. But we know we have other games. Paris Saint-Germain also lost to Arsenal. That was in match day 2. Will be up against the PSV and Eindhoven. But for Arsenal now, they'll be up against the Shakhtar Donetsk. And Arsenal, they would want to bounce back from that defeat against Bournemouth over the course of last weekend. But for Aston Villa, after getting that's a 1-0 victory over Bayern Munich in match day 2 there at the Villa Park. They would be at the Villa Park again, playing against the Bologna, who were last season's surprise package in the Italian Serie A, qualifying for the UEFA Champions League for the first time in their history. And it was one man who led them to that charge in Thiago Motta. But for Thiago Motta also, it would be leading that's Juventus, who also miraculously came back to defeat that RB Leipzig by 3-2 in match day 2 encounter of the UEFA Champions League. So I think we have a quite interesting matchups in the UEFA Champions League for tonight, aside from the Real Madrid against Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, we do. We definitely have some exciting games. Looking at the Aston Villa against the Bologna game, what's interesting to me is that those teams, where if you look at last season, for example, Aston Villa were one of the most dangerous teams in the Premier League in transition. This season, if you look at the way Bologna actually play and how they actually played in the Champions League, especially even that game against Liverpool, they look like a very dangerous side on transition as well. I know that Unai Emery is actually a really great manager. He knows when to tweak. He doesn't always have to play the same tactics or patterns every single time. So this is going to make for another exciting encounter, because I think both teams are going to really have a lot of work cut out for them, especially the defenders and the midfielders. But I think that this is going to be one of those games that really shows tactical prowess of both managers for Vincent Italiano's side as well as Unai Emery. So exciting times, of course, they are at the Villa Park as they have another Champions League night encounter, and I'm hoping that it actually does live up to it, because these are two really good attacking-minded sides, and I'm hoping that that's what we get to see, because that's part of what the Champions League is all about.
Let's hope we can see that. But according to Thiago Motta, he says Juventus are determined to excel in Europe and in Italy. But for AC Milan, Rafa Leao and Hernandez are back in the lineup as they are named in the team to face Club Brugge and Paris Saint-Germain. Definitely, they are wary of PSV's impressive domestic results. That's according to manager Luis Enrique. And Arsenal, they want to channel Bournemouth's pain into Shakhtar Donetsk clash. That's according to the manager Mikel Arteta. Well, definitely, let's take this time out to listen to the BBC Premier League update, where, of course, there are reactions from the English Premier League from last night's game that went down, and also to this news that Tottenham Hotspur, West Ham Football Club, same as Mohamed Kudus, they've been charged after the derby melee that went down there when both teams faced off against each other there at the Tottenham Stadium. Let's join our partners, the BBC Premier League update.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Jo Parsons at the BBC Sports Centre. Nottingham Forest are up to 8th in the Premier League after they beat Crystal Palace 1-0. Chris Wood scored the winning goal, and it was a double celebration for the striker, given some personal news he'd received this week.
My wife and I found out we're having a baby girl, 12, 13 weeks now, so hopefully in a few months' time we'll be bringing her into the world. So it's a great occasion and fantastic for us as a family.
As for Crystal Palace, Oliver Glasner's side, who are third from bottom of the table, are still without a win this season.
Another close game, and we're struggling at the moment scoring goals, the last games as well. But I saw a team working hard from the first second. I think we all had better times in football.
Aston Villa will look to make it 3 wins out of 3 tonight in the league stage of the Champions League. Unai Emery's team are taking on the Italian side, Bologna.
They are a team with a huge history in Italy. Really, they are not now winning easy matches because they are drawing more, but always they are very tight in the result and they deserve more points than they have now.
Arsenal are also in action. They play the Ukrainian side Shakhtar Donetsk. The Gunners' manager Mikel Arteta says he has great admiration for the way their opponents are still playing football, despite Ukraine being at war with Russia.
I think it's remarkable the way they have managed and managing the situation and the unity of the country and the capacity of sport as well to bring joy to people's life.
And for more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
All right, there you listen to the BBC Premier League update, where, of course, the UEFA Champions League continues for some of the English teams. But moving away from that, that's the next 60 seconds thereabout. The Nigeria Premier Football League Shooting Stars of Ibadan, they got a maximum 3 points against their opponent yesterday, returning back to winning ways, and of course their second win of the season. Nifemi yesterday, Gbenga Ogubote and his boys, they picked up 3 points, 1 goal to nil, and that was the result for the team. how impressed were you with the outing from the 𝐒𝐿E Warriors?
I think that was an impressive response after losing, I think, away at Rivers United. So for the Shooting Stars, I think I hope that this actually continues for them, especially defending home soil. So I was so excited to actually see that they actually were able to pick up the 3 points, because we've seen a lot of instances this season where, they maybe had maybe not the best of performances, but they were still able to get something out of the game, especially at home. And I'm glad that the two Mustafas, both the goalkeeper as well as the striker, were, hugely important in securing the 3 points for, that is, the 𝐒𝐿E Warriors. So hopefully this actually continues. And now the most important thing is going away from home and actually securing some points, because last season, that was the reason why they were even able to finish their highest finish in almost 30 years. So I think that now that's the next assignment for them: go away from home, try to pick up points, then come back and defend home soil. Well,
thank you so much, Anifemi, for joining me on today's edition of the program Scoreboard Reloaded. Until we meet again tomorrow on that's subsequent programs. That's on 32 FM 94.9. I remain SAMIES, your sports captain. I say do enjoy the rest of the day, and bye for now.
gbọ́ BBC Yorùbá.
Olúmídé ń gbọ́ ṣé ètò ní ìdásílẹ̀ EFCC kò bá òfin Nàìjíríà mu.
Èwo ni tèmi, ṣé èmi làwọn gómìnà tó pe ẹjọ́ tako ìdásílẹ̀ EFCC ni lẹ́yìn tí wọ́n sọ pé àgbékalẹ̀ àjọ náà kò tẹ̀lé òfin.
Tọ́ ẹ ti bínú.
Èmi ò bínú o, àlàyé ọ̀rọ̀ lásán ni.
Ó dáa, báwo ni ẹjọ́ náà ṣe lọ nílé ẹjọ́ tó ga jùlọ lórílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà lónìí?